On the fourth day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree. It is the fourth day of Christmas, and I'm so glad to have the joy of celebrating this day of Christmas. But this year, on the fourth day of Christmas, we also find that we are celebrating the Feast of Holy Innocents. And if you've never heard of that feast, it's actually based on scenario in the Bible that maybe it's so hard to comprehend that we overlook it. But today, when we go to Mass, the very first thing we do is we enter into Mass and we have this simple prayer. The innocents were slaughtered as infants for Christ. Spotless, they follow the Lamb and sing forever, "Glory to you, O Lord." And then we have the reading from Matthew chapter 1, verse 5 and on, speaking of how Jesus and Mary and Joseph, because Joseph has a dream, is told to flee in haste because there's going to be this persecution and they must flee to Egypt. And when you hear the story, you hear very much tendencies toward the Israelites and how they also had to flee from Egypt. So Jesus is following in his tradition of his people that he is born into, to flee into Egypt, and then he will also leave Egypt. So it's kind of an understanding that he will see the history of his people through to the end. And but I also, it's very hard to believe that in doing so, he leaves behind this tragedy of hundreds, maybe possibly even thousands of babies who are being slaughtered, so that to appease Herod and his desire for power. And I think about, and many do on this day, about how we also are slaughtering the innocent in abortion every day. And for those who do not know, I'm very pro-life in my helping of women over the years, and also just an understanding of our own children. We have given birth to 6 children, and we claim another one who we love very much. And we also had 2 miscarriages. So we understand the blessings of children in our house, in our family. For those who watched our videos yesterday, you see that it's not always the holy family, but we do love each other very much, and we can't imagine life without any of us. And I think that in God's plan, we all have a purpose here in this world. And so I always tell people, my children are blessings to me, but to many would say, why would you bring a child into the world in such a way? Our first child, who we knew right away we would name Amanda, her name means to be loved, but she was born before Michael and I were married, so it would be easy for someone to say, oh, well, you college students, why don't you go take care of that problem? And then we had, we're still in college, still struggling, possibly you would say. We had our second pregnancy, and I was working at this time, some would say working on growing my career, and my advisor at the time said, oh, I hope that you're really not pregnant. And I did have a miscarriage, and she was very excited. She's like, oh, good, your career can continue. And then we had our second baby born, and he has autism. And so, again, some would say, oh, don't bring a child into the world who has already disabilities. But I would say, no, he brings joy to our lives. He's so amazing and so loving and caring and so intelligent. So, no, I would not say that he needs to have been aborted. And then we had our uh, child, Henry, who was born, and we were practically homeless. Michael had lost his job, and we didn't have a home, and we were coming back from living overseas, and thankfully my parents let us move in with them. But again, why would you bring a child into a world of poverty? Well, we weren't stricken with poverty. We were full of love, and that's all you need. And so then we had Edward. Michael and I were actually not doing very well in our marriage, and actually Michael wasn't even living with us right after I found out I was pregnant. So some would say, "Oh, look, your marriage is in trouble. You shouldn't have a baby in the middle of all this." And again, I would say, no, we worked out our marriage because of the joy of having a child, and so once again, no, marriage is struggle, yes, but not without joy. And then we again had the promise of a beautiful child. We were all so excited, and this time my miscarriage came very late, but that child was already loved and named, and we were very saddened. But it was amazing that some would even say, oh, well, you have all these other children. Why would you be sad about this one? It's just heartbreaking to think that people would have that feeling when we already were very saddened by this baby that we lost. And then we have the joy of Brendan, who we were just so excited. But Michael was being deployed, and I was home alone taking care of these children. And some would say, well, why would you have a child when you don't even know if your husband's going to return from a deployment? And he was not in, thankfully came home to us. But again, what a joy. And by the way, Brendan was born on January 22nd, which is the anniversary of Roe versus Wade. And his name means the prince who will conquer. And we know that abortion can be conquered. So we look forward to seeing that happen in his lifetime. And then we have our little miss, who we are so thankful for. Some would say I was old and I shouldn't be having children at the age I had her, but I look at it as God blessing us just one more time with a beautiful little girl, and we're so thankful for her. And I cannot end my story without saying that we have this beautiful young woman come into our lives. She had, I would say that many would say, why was she brought into this world to be abused and harmed when she was young, and in so many ways had a hard life growing up. And some would say, well, why not just not make a child suffer like that? But our sweet Christina, I consider her a daughter to me, and she is a blessing to so many, and so full of joy and smile on her face, and she's happy and joyful. So all of these examples of ways that some would say a child should not come into the world, but I say absolutely a child should be with us and be loved and cared for, and maybe even struggle, but find ways to find life within all of these things. So consider how you bring life into the world and how your place in God's plan is, and maybe if you have children, how they bring life into your world and to those around them. On this day when we celebrate the martyrs, the first martyrs of Christ in the holy innocents. May God bless you.